Welcome to the 8th episode of Mol België Season 14 Recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Harmstone, and not joining us this week is the Canadian who must have visited Macarena to be so blind as to who the mole was this season, Logan Saunders. But still here is the guy who knows exactly how much fun you can have in the toilet, David Bindley.
Good morning. All right, get your smug over and done with.
No, the smoke's going to be weaved throughout this episode. Don't worry about that. Have you had a good week?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, it didn't really do much. Watched Traitors New Zealand, which is decent, if not great. Season 2 is basically a bunch of smug assholes and Noel. And, don't get me wrong, there's people in there who are good TV characters. It's just I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I felt the same at the time when I watched it. I
Yeah,
don't think any of them are particularly likable.
no. The words "fuck you, Donna" have almost never been more appropriate.
Yeah. And, yeah, I had an interesting weekend.
Yeah.
I think, hand on heart, it was probably the best finale we've done, our performance-wise, ignoring the results and everything. Obviously, I got everything right. I was very proud of myself, but I feel like actually in terms of our flow and our patter and everything, when we were interviewing everybody, which we haven't done since Vietnam, I think actually we did the best that we have done in the 4 times
Mm.
that Saunders and I have done it, which was, you know, I was really proud of that. I managed to edit the entire episode today, which kind of says it all, given that I think it's just shy of an hour and 5 edited,
Oh, wow.
which is our second longest of the diary episodes. Last year was an hour and 25, which I'd forgotten about. Yeah, I feel like it was a fun finale for us. The actual episode itself, I think, is one of the best finales they've done in terms of structure, because both challenges were fucking phenomenal.
Yep.
Especially the first challenge, obviously, really made me laugh in the press room. I think I was maybe the loudest voice in the press room, unsurprisingly, because because I came in confident and knowing that I was probably right on the mole. I came with a level of arrogance that was trying to be beaten out of me by Gilles. But it just felt so nice after nearly 10 years of knowing Gilles and him taking the piss out of how terrible I am at suspicions, to know that there was just a little bit of revenge in there in that challenge.
Yeah.
Especially when us going to the finale basically, for me, becomes Stressy Boy Christmas.
Mm.
Because after the week I had last week, I was glad to have something to look forward to, but everything seemed to try and raise my blood pressure, just in terms of the travel logistics. The plane from Manchester was 45 minutes late, which, given it's a 55-minute flight, is quite impressive, which
Mm.
then meant that I missed the 1 an hour train to Antwerp. Hilarious fun. Had to
Yeah.
wait in Schiphol for 55 minutes. When I got on that train, I felt like I was in hot fuzz because they couldn't go full speed on the high-speed rail line because of a swan. And obviously, as we know, and as people do tend to ask, do you speak Dutch? Not particularly. Do I understand Dutch enough to get around? And I heard this announcement come through the railway speakers, and I'm like, did they say we're going slow because of a swan? Am I in hot fuzz? And then the English translation came through, and I'm like, oh my god, I couldn't write this. I mean, Edgar Wright and Simon
No.
Pegg and Nick Frost did 15, 20 years ago, or whatever point it is. I think it's 20 years this year, actually. Jesus. But yeah, also, something we didn't mention in the diary episode, but I did allude to on social media when when we were doing videos on the way to Kinnipolis, Saunders broke the toilet.
Oh no.
We stayed in the hotel we always stayed in, and the toilet flushed, and the toilet did not stop flushing, and we had the sound of running water for about 2 hours, and we went out for tea, and it was still there. So I ended up having to go down to the desk, and we ended up having to change rooms because Saunders broke the toilet.
Damn it, Saunders.
I know. And he's not here to defend himself and go, no, it was you, eh? No, it wasn't Saunders. We both know it was him. Something that was kind of alluded to in the diary episode, but very much not elaborated on at the time, is when we went into the press area and we were sort of doing the mingling bit and talking to Gilles.
Yeah.
I went up to him and said, just so you know, I've got a gift for you when we go in. So, be prepared. And then unpacked my bag and everything. And about 5 minutes before the finale, I gave Gilles de Costa one of my pastel de nata that I made.
Oh.
And the first question that I ask him in our interview with him is, how was the pastel de nata, Gilles? And he gave me compliments.
Wow.
I'm sure it hurt him in his soul to have to give me compliments, especially knowing what I was going to be smug about later on. But yes, he complimented my pastel de nata. I had the brainwave last week that I still had 4 in the freezer, so I'm like, well, I want to bring one with me. I'll bring one for Saunders, and he enjoyed his. And then I thought, well, Gilles said he loves pastel de nat. I might as well
Mm,
take a punt and bring one for him as well. And
yeah.
I gave him a homemade pastel.
I was going to say, how long ago did you make them? Because like I thought it was like 2-3 weeks or whatever, just after that challenge. And then I'm like, how did you get that through Schiphol on a train across the national border?
The answer is I had them in a quite secure box in my luggage because I had hard-sided luggage with me this year. So they didn't rattle around that much. They got a little bit squashed, and I had to kind of squeeze them in the bag to make it look a bit more pastel shape. But the first thing he said is, that's a bit destroyed, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, that's the best of the three that I transported, mate. I saved the nice-looking one for you. But he said it was very tasty, which I was proud of. And off the back
Oh,
of
good.
that, and this is a little challenge for our listeners, if you also listen to Trust Nobody, we spoke to them a lot this time. We didn't really mention it in the diary, but we had a lot of very nice conversations with Nellika and Elke from Trust Nobody. They have heard that we were talking about Nellika on Cafe de Mol, so hello if this does get back to you guys.
Hi, Nelica and other people.
Yeah. Off the back of that, they found out that I made Gilles a pastel de nata, and apparently Elke is a baker as well. So I sent him the recipe that I
Oh,
used, and I have sent him the message that I expect pictures when he makes them. So anyone who also listens to Just Nobody, please hold him to the fact that he owes me pictures of pastel de nata.
well, you've got your rice stelling now. Now it's up to the backup thing.
Oh, I mean, you know what I was coveting last year, and they had more than one of the neon signs this year. I did
Mm.
jokingly say to Saunders at one point, "You distract everyone while I get the scissors out," because those neon signs are fucking cool, and I would have had a fairly hard time bringing it home in the suitcase that I brought. But by Jove, I would have tried.
Hmm.
Also alluded to in the diary episode is the fact that when Julie's light went on, I cheered quite loudly, obviously, because that meant
Yeah.
Saunders was wrong. And Gilles sidled up to me and just whispered in my ear, "Don't get cocky yet." He had a last like minute long trolling session right
Yeah.
before I actually was right at a finale.
He's such a little shit, and you do deserve it.
He is. And the even better thing is, as soon as Wout walked through those doors, and I'll be honest, I had a little waver when I saw a glimpse of a white shirt. I'm like, I know Maxim was wearing a white shirt. I can't remember what colour
Yeah.
shirt Wout's was. Fuck, I might be wrong, and I might be getting teased here. And then as soon as he walked through the door, I quite loudly in the press room shouted, I was right. And I'm not sure whether I got told off or not.
Mm.
Not by Gilles, by someone else. There was a comment almost immediately afterwards, and obviously I didn't understand it. But I'm not 100% whether I got told off or not for saying quite loudly I was right.
Yeah.
The question on everyone's lips is obviously who did we interact with outside of this cast? Because obviously we go into the cinema screen where all the cast and the friends and family end up going, which has its downside, the fact that we can't take part in the mole quiz that wins you a cinema ticket like Elijah's screen did this year, and they won.
Mm.
But we had our usual chat with Annalise, who is lovely. Logan got away from Alexi, who was sat in the row behind us, as was everyone from Thailand, I think. They were
Oh,
the only season that was entirely there, and they were all sat in the row behind us. But the one that I want to talk about is I got recognised for the first time.
yeah.
And I got recognised by someone we haven't spoken to.
Oh, so not
Because,
Davy.
no, cast your mind back to the Sicily finale. We
Yeah.
spoke to Senna and Bernard, but we never spoke to Michael Mons because time ran out.
You got recognized by Mikael Mons.
Yes, he made eye contact with me because he was like 2-3 rows behind us, sat with Bernard, and he just mouthed "podcast?" at me, and I'm like, yeah, and then we went over and had a lovely chat with him, and he's so
Oh,
nice. So yeah, we have inexplicably befriended Michael Mons, and
right.
I don't know how, but he knew who I was because I mean, they all know who Logan is because he posts on
Mhm.
Instagram and they all look at his stories and everything. I don't. I follow them
Yeah.
all, but I don't ever really post anything on Instagram or anything. So I've still no idea how he recognized me because Saunders had to remind me we never spoke to him at the Sicily finale.
Huh.
So I was just sort of baffled because he's really nice.
Yeah.
And we never interacted with him. I was just kind of baffled that he knew who I was of all people.
Well, hello, Mikhail, if he's listening. I'm sorry about most of the jokes.
I'm not.
75% of the jokes. Well, 69% of the jokes.
Senna was apparently meant to be there, but his girlfriend wasn't very well. So sending our love,
Oh,
Senna, if you do come across this. And I've already had a message off Bernard because I sent him a message saying it's lovely to see you guys again, and he responded quite quickly. So we like Bernard
oh,
as well.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Bernard still has, as you well know, pride of place on my sofa.
yeah.
Because I am a nice person as well, I always send an email to Gilles and the people who arrange our visits when we get to go to these things. And Gilles sent an email back very, very quickly yesterday.
I never get emails from you.
No, that's because I don't like acknowledging that I have your email.
Okay.
But yeah, I always send an email to Gilles and Isabel, just basically saying thank you and thank you for enduring our presence once more. But Gilles doesn't usually respond that quickly. And I
Yeah.
got an email back off him. How long ago? How long between it was? It was about 47 minutes after I sent the email
Yeah.
saying, I'm still recovering from the sheer shock of you getting it right. Thank you as ever for making the trip to see us. Very much appreciated. See you next year.
Oh.
And I have it on good authority he listened to at least the first 2 episodes because he made a lot of jokes about saunas being shit. As much as I didn't want to pander to the inevitable bingo squares, he did have some thoughts on saunas drafting 5 of the first 6 boots.
Oh, of course you did.
And also, perfect timing wise, because I was flying back through Schiphol, I somehow managed to get on potentially Dutch TV yesterday.
Oh.
Because Schiphol decided yesterday was the perfect day to change all of their security arrangements. And it
Of course.
caused travel chaos. I got the train from Antwerp that got me in 3 hours and 45 minutes before my flight. And I ended up having to spend an hour and a half of those 3 hours and 45 minutes in security queues because it was absolute chaos.
That sounds about right.
It wasn't Schiphol Mall levels, but it was getting pretty close. They sent me to the wrong queue originally. I waited half an hour in that queue, got to the barrier thing where you scan your boarding pass, and then it said, nope, you're at the wrong side. You need to go to the other one. And it was that bad they were handing out water and snacks.
Wow.
Yeah, we got street waffles from Schiphol. And the other bit of this that I want to briefly touch upon is the fact there was a guy, the row in front of me on the flight to Manchester yesterday evening, who was texting his boss, lying that he hadn't caught the plane. He was claiming that he was on standby for the next morning, even though if his boss had rung him, he would have heard a UK dial tone at that point, because he was texting him literally as he landed in Manchester yesterday evening. So, previously, the Final Four took on 100 kids and one bird of prey before trying to take the perfect Instagram photo. They got the opportunity to drop in on their loved ones while earning cash, but it was Isabel who dropped, as she was the last person sent home before the finale. The final 3 recap all the challenges in the form of tiles. Wout says the adventure was unique. He didn't know what was coming next in the fort. Julie thought it was amazing. When she drove the rally car, she completely forgot that it was a challenge and it was just fun for her. Maxim says he's scared of heights and would have never done the free fall, but with this group around him, he had confidence. And Julie also says that she didn't realise she could have so much fun in a toilet.
That's demonstrating she's not one of those annoying straight women who goes to gay bars for fun.
And it is day 18 in Portimao, and the final 3 are eating the most important meal of the day, breakfast. And as we see in the behind the scenes, we get to see that because Gilles is actually doing his challenges at that point.
Oh.
Gilles meets them on the beach and tells them they've overcome many obstacles over the last 3 weeks, but none more so than today's Gilles himself. An hour ago, he took part in 3 mini challenges, and they must beat him to earn money for the pot. I cannot tell you the laugh that I emitted when I realised this reveal.
Me too. Like this, like I don't want to give Fuzzy the square, but Jesus.
I'm pretty sure she's already got the bingo board for her diary, so, she's probably already got 1 this week.
One is enough. Like, I get, hosts taking part in challenges is apparently a thing at the moment because Jeff Probst did it as well. But how do they come up with stuff like this?
I think it is probably just 10 years of knowing what buttons to push with Gilles. Because if you think back to Argentina, the highlight of Argentina's reunion montage thing was obviously Gilles hanging off a bridge in the Ardennes. because they decided that the funniest option was to make him test it. One of the funniest things of the Vietnam reunion was Gilles being sick on a boat. And they include these things. Like, they know what buttons to push with Gilles.
We're absolutely going to get a shot of him next week testing that crane thing, aren't we?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if his wife had let him at this point. I think we'll see someone testing it. I'm just not sure who.
Yeah. Might be behind the scenes yarn.
Yeah, because I suspect that Gilles' first answer would be the exact same answer that we gave last week, which is hell fucking no. So they can choose between one of 3 mini challenges to compete with him in, and that's either fun on the beach, water sports, or fishing. And each candidate who beats Gilles will earn €1,000 for the pot. The first challenge is to connect the dots using a jet ski.
Because of course.
And unfortunately for both Gilles and Maxim, the board is attached to the back of the vest of the man on the jet ski. Gilles' little face lighting up when he sees the jet ski and thinks he's driving it, bless him.
It's adorable.
I know that pretty much everyone's going to guess the banner this week, but there was such rich pickings from this challenge and from Gilles' reaction. I knew as soon as I watched it that the banner was going to be a Gilles one. I knew as soon as it happened that it was going to be him calling Wout a loser, because that made me laugh so hard. But I could have easily picked another 6 or 7 from this challenge.
Yeah.
Preferably him realizing that he was going to have to do the Macarena, I think.
Rank the 3 of them in the order that you would have wanted to do them.
Dancing last. 100%. It would probably be the jet ski because it's the most fun, regardless of you getting tossed and turned and having to try and do the connect the dots. Yeah, it would be jet ski, spot the difference, and then by far doing the mackerel. Because I'm not sure even non-dancing I could name 7 different supermarket fish.
I think doing the mackerel is something Logan did on his summer holiday, isn't it? Yeah, I do think the jet ski one is the fun one.
Mm.
And the memory challenge is the one you stick with the person like you want to fuck around with.
Yeah.
Like the Macarena one, I think is probably the easiest of the 3. Admittedly, it took them 4 minutes, which like sounds like a long time. But when you realize sort of, well, it takes maybe 20 seconds to go through a verse, because I think that was one of the songs they were telling people to use with like when they're washing their hands during COVID. So when it takes, about 20 seconds to go through a verse, that's really only like 12. But like they did pretty good considering.
They did. It is the easiest one, but it's also the most ritual humiliation of them.
Yeah.
It's the one that they blatantly came up with because they thought that this would be funny to make Gilles do.
Yeah.
And then, turn it into a challenge after that.
And they were correct.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, just every single reaction shot of him this time. He was either a giddy little child or knew that these people were fucking with him. There was no middle ground. And as much as it pains me to compliment him using the telescope later was just genius.
It was genius of them to put it there.
And to make it an actual integral bit of the challenge. So both Maxim and Gilles guess that it is a mermaid, but Gilles guesses it quicker. Wout and Julie can also earn €400 by guessing who was faster out of the 2. This isn't a surprise for the Mole, though, as they were briefed by Gilles while the other 2 were wearing headphones, obviously because it's this show, listening to Sex on the Beach. And they guessed that Maxim was faster, but he was just over 2 minutes slower. Quite impressive.
Yeah. What an odd number the 400 is.
Yeah. I mean, this show can kind of get away with weird monetary amounts more because they don't have to do it in the mole money and all that sort of stuff. But it doesn't make any sense to make the final pot or the final maximum make a level amount or anything.
Yeah.
The final maximum ends up being 112,800 by my reckoning.
The only thing I can think of is maybe they were thinking maybe 500 would be too much and then 250 would be too little.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it was an odd amount. For the second mini challenge, Gilles and Julie must dance the mackerel, which is apparently an obscure variation of the Macarena. Gilles then gets surprised by the dancers coming around from behind the rock and looks absolutely mortified. Whoever dances Macarena and names a different fish 7 times will win the duel.
I just love the visual of like that lady coming around with the boombox. I'm like, excellent.
It's even funnier when you consider that we see in the behind the scenes that they come around the rock with the boombox, and then they have to teach him the Macarena because it's so long since he's done it. So he gets a full, like, intensive Macarena lesson before they start the challenge proper.
Oh, wow.
Despite Gilles pulling it back from, I think it's a 6-4 deficit at one point, Julie does end up winning and getting a 7-6 victory, which means they get €1,000 for the pot. And Maximum Wouts also say that she was faster, and they are right for another 400.
How did you do with naming fish?
I could have done about 3 or 4 easily, I think.
Yeah.
I think when you get past some of the ones that they said early, I think you'd struggle.
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you don't say mackerel first, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And then I went with, salmon, tuna. And then because, obviously the fish down here are different than the ones in Belgium, I would assume.
Yeah.
I was able to list like 3 or 4 different ones.
They're not going to say barramundi first in Belgium.
Hey, barramundi. Yeah, like I think I would have got 7 reasonably quickly, but whether they would have accepted them as supermarket fish is a different issue.
Yeah, I do wonder what the limits of supermarket fish would have been, because
Yeah.
I don't know what would count over here.
Yeah. I think if I'd said, hokey, I don't think they would have accepted that.
No. Mainly because you'd be doing the wrong dance at that point.
Yeah. You put your left fin in, you put your left fin out. Do you know the Macarena dance is a Mandela effect?
No.
So in the original video clip,
Hmm.
the dance they're doing is not the dance we know as the Macarena.
Oh.
It's very slightly different, and then that sort of mutated. And then sort of when it got big and they did like a Christmas version, that's the one that has the Macarena dance.
Oh, interesting.
But like the original video, it's basically just arms out, hands behind your head, hands on your hips, and then turn. That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
I do wonder how strict they were on the Macarena dance itself as well. Did they have to do the Macarena perfectly to score the point, or were they a bit more lenient on it?
I suspect it was just to make Jill look like a dickhead.
I think so too. I was trying to watch for that on the cinema screening. Interestingly, this challenge didn't get as big a reaction in the cinema screening than in the press room.
Oh.
The press room, there was a lot of laughter, mainly from me,
Mm.
but it was a fairly muted reaction to a lot of things in the cinema screen, which is rare. Even the reveal of Wout as the mole, like, I think most people in there were probably fairly convinced this time.
Yeah.
So there wasn't as much of a visceral shock reaction when he walks through the church. Whereas if you compare it to something like the Arizona one, there was a
Yeah.
massive reaction when Comer was revealed in both areas, both the press room and the cinema. It was pretty shocking, the reaction.
I wonder if maybe like the muted reaction this got in the public room might have been because the press sort of knows Jules a little bit as well.
We were the only ones who did both the press room and the cinema this time.
Yeah.
Which is rare. You usually at least trust nobody will as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, me and Saunders were the only quote unquote press people in the cinema screening this time. So nobody else, as far as I'm aware, nobody else in that room had seen the finale other than Gilles and a handful of production people who would have been in the press room with us.
But like you figure, like the press people, a lot of them would have interviewed Gilles over the years, sort of known him through other stuff, all of that.
Yeah.
Like I think, they might have got like a little bit more of a kick out of let's just troll this asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, like speaking from personal experience, obviously we love Gilles on this podcast. Obviously I love Gilles as a human being. But do I want to see him have to do the Macarena against his own will? Obviously.
Yeah. So Gilles just tells everyone he's going to go and dig a hole to hide in. And I'm like, bring in the earth mover.
Yeah, that should have been. That would have been a brilliant twist for him, wouldn't it? So the final mini challenge is a game of spot the difference between 2 beach setups 100 meters apart. Because again, it's this show. And the fastest to find the 5 differences wins.
I'm not saying this was hard, but like I paused the shot on the split screen. I was only able to confidently identify 3 of them.
Yeah. So after much hilarity, including Gilles using one of the items to look across the beach, he wins, and Julie and Maxim say that Wout was slower, and they earn €400 for a total of 1,800 of 4,200 for the pots. And even though he sends them away, Gilles calls Wout to turn back and calls him a loser.
Such a little shit.
That is shocking behaviour from Gilles, given what I've experienced from him in the past 7-8 years at this point. I had no idea that Gilles was that competitive.
He probably did it just in case he couldn't do it to you again this year.
Yeah, I mean, I did it to Elijah when Elijah had seen the finale, and I sent a message on Discord being like, "Elijah, are you ready to face me yet?" He's just like, "Yeah, I'll go to the cinema screening." So he was in screen 14, I was in screen 8, so he just waited outside. And I just walked out. The first thing I did was just loser. Then we had a very nice chat.
Oh, good. I just love that when Wout's doing it, Gilles and Maxim take the opportunity to roast the Baywatch vibes of his running.
Yeah,
And then, we get Wout running with the actual Baywatch credits music.
which
And then it cuts to Gilles, just sort of no music at all. It's just him running across the beach.
yeah, the editors had a lot of fun taking the piss out of Gilles here, but
Yeah.
the Baywatch music, I had the loudest laugh in the press room at that, because that is just such a stupid split-second joke that they would do.
Yeah.
Like, I was just enjoying myself this time because I was fairly confident I was right. I could just sit back and not be as stressy as I normally am, going, "Oh god, I'm wrong, aren't I?"
Yeah.
Because sort of halfway through the second challenge, I think Saunders was fairly convinced it wasn't Julie, not that he'd ever admit it, because he knows that he'd get the piss taken out of him anyway. So I was
Hmm.
going into it just being confident that it was Wout and enjoying the episode as a punter. And yeah, the Baywatch music made me laugh. The hot chocolate later really made me laugh with Wout trying to hula hoop when he walked. This is a very good episode for musical cues.
Yeah. I also loved that Gilles found four of the differences, and then it took him a second to realize that the monocular was the fifth one.
Mm. It's just like, oh fucking hell. 10 years of doing this show and you still fall for things like that. So they celebrate crossing the 20k mark with pastel de nata and beers, not that Maxim remembers the Portuguese word for it.
Was that an actual Portuguese bar, or was that one of the British ones? Because they had the Anfield Road sign, they had a Wales scarf. For some reason, the bartender was wearing an LA Raiders shirt.
Yeah, well, you see quite a lot of LA Raiders caps around here,
Hmm.
weirdly. I
Yeah.
do think that it was Portuguese then pub, but
Hmm.
I mean, I think pretty much anywhere in Portugal like that would give you pastel de nata, if nothing else. Given the
Yeah.
sheer quantity of pastel de nata that were provided in the press room this time, Saunders had 6, plus the one that I'd given him the day before.
Jesus. He eats like a horse.
Yeah, he was quite proud of himself in the diary episode that he managed to eat 6 pastel de nata.
Hmm.
I only had 1, I think, of their provided ones. I was
Right.
on my best behavior, but they were very generous in the press room this year.
You behaving.
Yeah. I mean, despite everyone coming into this episode thinking I'm going to be cocky and smug and everything, I'm naturally cocky and smug. I'm not going to be any more cocky and smug than I normally am. And I don't think I was particularly overly cocky in the diary episode or overly smug in the diary episode. My introduction to Wout was, "You're the only mole I've ever guessed at a finale," but that's about how bad it got, I think. So it is day 19, and they've got one last assignment to earn money for the pots with. And they began the season with a challenge of €10,000, and today they will play for the same. All of their challenges that they earned money in are represented in tiles, and there are 3 gaps at the bottom of the board. All they've got to do is grab the tiles from the villa behind him, which is heavily defended by paintballers. If they get hit, tiles will fall from the wall in reverse order of how much money they earned, and any tile that smashes loses that money from the pot. I expected quite a visceral reaction to this in the fan community.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that's tempered a little bit by having them go from lowest to highest,
Hmm.
which not only, adds a bit of a memory aspect to it, which as we saw, Julie was quite good at, but also that makes it almost impossible that you're going to lose the big numbers just because of like how rare it is to get shot in those sort of challenges.
Yeah, I think Saunders mentioned this on the diary episode. I think there is an argument that yes, it was annoying to even have the opportunity to lose potentially all your pot in the final challenge. I think Julian Maxim may have been a little bit short-sighted to let Wout go to the final round and let him basically fuck up the €5,000. But the counterpoint to that, as Mikhail Mons said to me, is you don't want Wout on the wall. You don't want Wout on the wall where the highest value tiles are going to be.
Yeah.
It's much better to have someone who is trustworthy there and who knows their stuff, like Julie,
Mm.
who can defend the pot. Because that's what the
Yeah.
board side of it is. It's that person's defending the pot, the other two are trying to increase it.
Mm.
But if they put Wout at the end and not got shot themselves, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't take the tiles off the wall and smash them.
Yeah.
So there was a way to stop the mole being able to drain this pot, which is why I don't have a problem with it. Because it was a memory game. You could, in theory, not drop a single one of the tiles as long as you did your revision properly. Yes, the mole will probably try and smash a few tiles or accidentally miss them or whatever, but you can stop them getting the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So, like the tile pictures were AI, weren't they?
I don't know, because I think people online thought they were, and I think there's
Yeah.
a fair amount of people who thought they were, but also they're so generalized that I wouldn't be surprised if they'd, knowing what the challenge roster was going to be,
Mm.
just got a local artisan to do all of these tiles. Because presumably
Yeah.
they had one for all the ones that they didn't add any money in, and then just didn't put those on the board.
Well, there were only the 20 challenges this season, weren't there?
Yeah, but I don't think was the fort the only one they didn't earn any money in,
I don't know.
because I don't think the Abigail and Vincent challenge was represented on there, which they lost money in, for example. So there must have been one that represented that, just in case they earned the $2,000.
Yeah, there were 20 tiles. Got me wondering now.
I'm pretty sure there wasn't one for the Abigail and Vincent one because they would have let that fall, because it would have earned $2,000.
That's a good point.
Because then also it depends what you count as a challenge, because the zip line was on there, but was the sheep on there? Because that couldn't earn any money.
Yeah.
The only one that was worth 0 that fell was the fort at the start, and that was Gilles doing it as the example.
Yeah, my count has 20 challenges plus the paintball. So 21 challenges plus the paintball.
Yeah.
And if you take out the cars, then that's the 20.
Maybe they did just earn money in the 20 of the 21 challenges then.
Yeah.
Say they earned money in the Abigail and Vincent challenge, then presumably the fort challenge wouldn't have been up there,
Yeah.
because there was still 20 spaces.
Let's work this out. Fortress, they didn't win anything.
Yep.
Porto, they won.
Yep.
Cars, they lost money.
Yeah, but also with the Porto challenge, were there multiple tiles for the Porto challenge? Because there was the Where's Wally aspect and
Yeah,
the
that's a good
Port
point.
and the FC de Campeonen aspect. So there's actually 3 challenges there in one. This is why it's quite hard to categorize it. I think it must have been the 19 challenges they earned the most money in and the fort, to use it
Yeah.
as an example.
I would think, based on how they had one shot for the Gilles challenge, weirdly of him wearing a snorkel, which wasn't part of any of them. I would think because they had one for that then they would count things like, say, the different rounds of the book challenge, or I think the only time where like you've got 2 challenges going on at the same time that are different challenges would be the tram race and the pastel de nata.
Yeah.
Because like they never really interacted.
No, but again, there wasn't one for the Pastel de Nata, and that earned €0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they must have had backup tiles for every single challenge, and they just picked whatever the top 19 were, plus the fort.
Yeah.
That's my suspicion on it, having seen it a few too many times at this point.
Or maybe the ones that were €0 were at the end.
No, because they would have fallen already, I think, because they fell in reverse order.
Like you have, the example €0. Then you go from lowest to highest, but then all of the ones that they didn't win or lost money in, stick them right at the very end. So then basically puts higher stakes on the early ones.
Yeah. So the board was the fort, the port, then the 2 cars, Carla and Dries in the sand, then the elimination duel, the zip line,
Demolition Derby.
the demolition derby, City of the Blind, the toilet game, the execution game, press the button, the slack lines. That's like a baseball.
Tennis.
It must be the tennis game.
The
Then
fake visitors.
the fake visitors.
Tram race. Pastel de Nata. The bull.
Football, bike, the free fall, and then Gilles.
Yeah.
So they did have one for the Abigail and Vincent game, even though presumably that one just never dropped then.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
So maybe it was 21 challenges this season then.
Yeah.
And it just didn't drop if it was a 0 or a negative Euro one.
Yeah, I think my count, I put the book and the book challenge and the mole video as separate challenges, where I think you can make an argument that that's one thing.
Yeah, I think they must have counted it as one. Mind you, the video never earns any money, does it? Yeah, because
No.
the videos was to take money off the winnings of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So then it's exactly 20 challenges plus hula paintball. So there must have been some excuse for them to not start with all the €0 challenges.
Yeah, I presume any negative ones just stayed on the board regardless.
Yeah. Maybe the €0 had the same situation.
Yeah. Yeah, they must have done.
Hmm.
Anyway, the first tile that they've got to find is €2,000 worth, and Wout and Julie go for it. Maxim can catch the tiles if they fall, and he catches a €1,500 one from the zip line. Wout gets hit by a paintballer, and Maxim again catches another tile. Wout and Julie then find the first tile, and if they enter the red zone, that tile will fall and cost them the €2,000 they could win. To turn the red zone green, one of them must hula hoop, while the other walks a path and climbs through hula hoops to get to the tile. As soon as they enter the room, they have 5 minutes. And for some reason, they send 6'8" Wout in to do this first.
Not only that, but I think he sabotaged this on the first attempt.
In what way?
Because when they showed the diagram of, say, the line going through the hoops to the thing, that second hoop, the one they keep having the trouble with, that line goes down through the hoop instead of up.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
So if it goes down through the hoop, you've basically just got to step over, duck down, and then crawl out. It is a lot harder to get up through something like that without hitting it.
Yeah, because the one that Julie ends up hitting, number 4, I think it is, she keeps hitting number 4, and that one's blatantly, obviously, the one that you should crawl up and over because it's a little bit higher. So I think he must have. Yeah, you're probably right. He probably
and
misled
then
her on
sort of after
he
did it the first time, then they just kept doing it.
Yeah, but also, as I've said in previous weeks, Wout is a very tall human being. This is a terrible challenge for anyone, Mol or not, as a tall human being to have to do.
Yeah, I could have done it.
Yeah, you would have been fine. I wasn't going to make the joke. I let you do it, but
no.
Yeah, Wout is, they said, close to 2 meters, so he's an inch or 2 taller than I am. Then I'm about 193, I think. So yeah, Wout hits the hoop and has 4 seconds to run back. Julie goes out and is much more successful, clearing 2 of the 5 hoops. And after a few runs, she doesn't get out in time, and as a result, the €2,000 tile falls. And Wout gets hit by a paintballer on the way out, and a €1,700 tile representing the Ports Challenge falls as well. The paintballers, by the way, were production crew members, because one of them was the handler who was sat with Maxim and Wout when we spoke to him. I only know because someone else asked and he got pointed out. So yeah, they were crew members. Again, unsurprising. Maxim and Julie go for the second tile worth €3,000. Maxim gets hit and the €1,800 that they earned beating Gilles is lost as well. To earn the €3,000, Maxim must score with a basketball while hula hooping, and Julie has to throw the ball to him from the balcony above. And again, if he stops hula-hooing, he has 4 seconds to leave the room.
I mean, I know it's hard to walk with a hula hoop, but this seemed like the hardest challenge of the 3.
Yeah. You say it's hard to walk with a hula hoop, but Wout proves in the behind the scenes he can do it.
Yeah.
He practiced walking with a hula hoop, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
So he misses with the first ball that he catches, but hits the second, releasing the €3,000 tile. And they get back to the board with the €3,000 tile, and Wout and Maxim are then sent out for the 5K one. The final area requires both of them to hula hoop and press 2 buttons simultaneously on opposite sides of the ring, and Wout fails so many times.
I do love a good failure montage, and we get 3 of them in the 3 rounds of this challenge.
Yeah, Wout, Mole or not, was spectacular at failing in this, keeping the hula hoop up. So they decide to have Maxim do it, but Wout sprints to his button, and Maxim doesn't catch the tile within the 4 seconds, probably because Wout trips over his hoop. Blatant sabotage.
Why would he have even taken the hoop with him?
He sort of drops it and trips over it, and then that's what loses them another second, which Maxim needed to grab the tile before it falls, I think.
Yeah. But, like, if you're going to sprint, like, why not leave the hoop at the starting point?
Well, yeah, but he's the mole, and he obviously wanted to do one final sabotage.
Hmm.
So Maxim then gets hit on the way back, and Julie saves the €1,900 tile. Wout then gets hit, and Julie saves the 1920 tile, and they return back to the safe zone for a total of minus €500 of 10,000 for the challenge, €1,300 of 14,200 for the episode, and €20,430 of 112,800 for the season as a whole, which is, just to give Fuzzy a bingo square, 18.11%.
Which is surprisingly small, considering.
Yeah, I mean, he had a few all or nothing big money challenges, but on paper, that's a very good result for them all.
Yeah. I mean, I say surprisingly small, but that's basically 3 Vidum seasons at the moment.
Yeah. So it's day 20, the last day in Guaya. Gilles meets them for the final 3 breakfast. He says they're worthy finalists and that the mole may have made a mistake picking Yana and Giannis as the 2 strongest candidates, as the 2 sitting alongside them now are the strongest. The mole tells one final lie that they are not the mole. I like the final 3 breakfast scene. It's a sweet tradition.
Yeah. I like that they do it. I think it makes more sense to do, like, a quick scene like that than devote an entire challenge to just giving them an excuse to, like, do flashbacks. Like, the tiles were a fun way to do it. But then sort of other seasons, you get things like, making them run for hours and hours and hours, and then sort of, because the running is boring, then you get the excuse for them to do confessionals about the journey they've been on and all that, like all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, this is way more interesting.
Yeah, this is pure character scenes at this point. There's no game involved, no money involved, no challenge involved. It's just celebrating the end of the trip and walking down memory lane, yes, but allowing a little bit more of their personality to shine through.
Yeah.
Because Saunders asked me during the diary episode whether there were any shocks this year in terms of the people that we spoke to, because obviously we didn't really get a measure of Alexei last year. He's an absolute sweetheart. We love talking to him. He was very charming. That didn't really come across on the episodes. I think I pretty well got the measure of all 3 of them this time.
Mm.
I know we said Julie and Maxim were very under-edited, sort of up to the midway point of the season, but
Yeah.
I think they made up for that a lot of the time. I think the last 2 episodes have been very good for both of them.
Yeah. I think they both got a decent amount of, like, airtime from the Love One challenge. And then sort of after that point, then they became main characters, where I think sort of the first half of the season, you had people like Giannis, Abigail, all that sort of stuff taking a fair bit of, like, the focus from them.
I think this episode was a very good portrayal of why Julie won as well, allowing her the hero moment of catching all the tiles and knowing where everything's going to be and all that sort of stuff is just a really subtle way to go. She's been revising. She's on it. She knows who the mole is. She's going to do very well here.
Yeah. And, like, being able to, like, instantly rank the challenges from lowest to highest winnings is not something that's going to turn up on the final test. Like, she would have just known that for fun.
Yeah. And it's 21 challenges.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a lot of data. And it wasn't just she knew the audit, she knew the values, which is impressive. So they drive a classic BMW to their final test location, a church where Gilles is waiting. And there was a query to do with the number plate here, given that it had MQ at the start of it, which is Maxim's initials. Gilles said that that's just accidental. He posted a really sweet message, including the phrase "to those in Flanders and beyond who watch," which I thought was a lovely
Oh,
touch. Obviously, we talked to pretty much everyone about their thoughts on there being an international community and all that sort of stuff. So it's nice to see that getting acknowledged. I'm taking that as a shout out to us, Jill.
yeah. It's nice to be and beyond.
Yeah. It is time for the final test. 30 questions about the identity and actions of the mole all season long. Whoever knows the most will unmask the mole and go home with €20,430 cash. So normally I would go through all the suspicions and everything, but I actually have permission of Gilles de Costa saying, yeah, they don't even matter at this point, do they? So I'm going to just skip over them. Thanks, Gilles. He genuinely said that to me.
I mean, Julie is deceptively smart for such a blabbermouth, though.
Yeah, he asked how much we understood, and I'm like, yeah, it's just the suspicions and stuff that that I don't end up sort of noting down. And he's like, yeah, they don't matter at that point, though, do they? So I'm like,
Yeah.
thanks. So the lights turn off, and whoever's turned back on will be the winner. And the light turns on, and it's a very emotional Julie.
That was a really cool way to do the light with like coming out of the church window.
Yeah, I wonder what they would have done if it was Maxim. Presumably, they just had another light that wasn't coming out the church window, but
Well, they might have had like two spotlights set up there and just aimed the right one.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, it was a really cool way to do it.
Hmm.
And the mole is a man, and what a man! And he walks out of the church and into the spotlight for the first time this season, and it's a wow.
I love that they tried to like build tension by panning up his body until you get to his face. But then you remember that Wout and Maxim are wearing suits that were different colors.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I did have a last second, oh shit, I'm very wrong here moment. But I was thinking when we knew it was Julia's winner, the shots are going to be very interesting because Wout is significantly taller than Maxim. You can't
Hmm.
really hide the body shape, let alone the clothes. So
Yeah,
it's very creatively shot, this mole reveal scene, I'll say.
yeah.
I think, although I'm not 100%, that might have been Wout's wedding suit as well.
Hmm.
Because in the behind the scenes, he shows off the pocket, and it's got, I think it was a line from their first song or something for the wedding,
Oh,
stitched in. It's definitely a message to
oh.
do with his wife that's stitched in. So yeah, it was very sweet. And the next two words on my notes are just "thank fuck."
Hmm. Yeah, my only note on this is, and then we get the reveal of the mole walking out of the church, and it's Wout, and Michael will be insufferable in capital letters.
Yep.
Get it over and done with.
I don't need to because the next three sections are all about how insufferable I'm going to be, to be brutally honest.
Okay.
The pool section is 5 words long. It's well, 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 I win. I have a lot of fun when we're doing the finales and Saunders is there. And because I obviously have my laptop out and he doesn't bring his, hence why he's not on this episode as well. I type my notes just to sort of do things to make him laugh because he sometimes looks over if he doesn't 100% understand things. So I was writing this pool section. It's just like, well, 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 I win. And he just started laughing. There is another one later on that he laughed at harder, actually. But on First Suspicions, 4 people, your own Christopher Fuzzy and TV's Michael Harmstone, all had Wow as number 1 and win First Suspicions this season. Well, 3 of us do. Sorry, Fuzzy. On the other end of the scale, Ape had him in 9th. And I also have to point out, as I alluded to last week, that Jeroen has the perfect finish with Julie in 2nd. What a nerd. Flanders Suspicions last week with Julian Wout on 35% and Maxim on 30%. And by the time of the finale, because we got to see some bonus Suspicions right before the finale started airing in the cinema, that became Wout on 35%, Julian on 34%, and Maxim on 31%. And with a perfect finish, I win our weekly Suspicions as well. Bindles suspected Wout 6 times, and Saunders participated, so that's nice for him.
Did he participate though?
Officially. And normally, you'll know I do suspect list before our weekly suspicions, but I'm building up to this because this is the one. I genuinely do not know what the result of it's going to be. I don't know if I put croissant or pastel de nata, and I don't know if it's going to fuck me here. So in week 1, Wout caught port. Well, kind of. He picked a croissant at breakfast. He was a farmer on the first challenge of the 3rd episode. He wore a blindfold for the movie. He bid 30 past Fragen. He made pastel de nata. And Julie was the winner. I'm covering my eyes.
Do we need to get the waitress over with the earring so you can push the button?
Yes, I won! With a score of 101 points, TV's Michael Harmsnow takes it. Whew! Was that a perfect score? No, I actually got the bonus question wrong with the croissant versus pasta donata, but it wasn't enough. Now I'm insufferable.
Now?
Yeah, clean sweep, motherfuckers, is all I have to say. Clean sweep.
Well, you still haven't got a perfect score on a suspect list.
I don't give a flying fuck about that. Being perfectly honest, I have waited years to win a suspect list. It's been my white whale. It's the only one I've never won. So yeah.
I've done it twice.
I don't give a shit. You don't count. I got the one that no one wanted me to have.
What, bingo?
Well, that as well. So yeah, top 10 was me with 101, Jeroen on 96, then Dizang on 85, Joseph on 83, Jason on 81, Reed on 77, Matty and Bindles, who did quite well, equals 7th on 76, and Sandra completing the top 10 on 71. On the other end of the scale, Saunders actually didn't shame himself. He got 40 points.
Wow.
He's still 16th.
Yeah. How many weeks did you suspect Nduja?
Well, he had Wout as number 1 in week 2. I don't think he told the truth on that. I don't remember him having Wout number 1 at all. And that was the week he put his yoker on. What a little lying bitch. Having words with him.
You better leave what a little lying bitch in the podcast, Michael.
Oh, you know I will. He did, however, put Wout as bottom for this week. So, really bad performance, that Saunders.
Yeah.
He got 20 of his 40 points in week 2.
What a sad little life, Logan Saunders.
Anything else to say about this finale?
If Gilles has been a contestant now, does this mean I have to make dirty jokes about him next year?
I don't think he'd disapprove of that. I might have to defend your honour, but...
I always feel bad, making jokes about Gilles, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's at work when he does this.
I'm sort of skirting around us doing any sort of eulogy for the season because we're going to do that next week when Saunders is back with us. But yeah, This is a very fun season pre-reunion. I've been told that Wout has done some very sneaky shit, unsurprisingly. So I'm looking forward to seeing what I clocked and what I didn't. He did claim to me that he didn't stole the rally car because I did ask.
Yeah.
He just said that Julie basically very broke it. Julie apparently was a very aggressive rally driver and just managed to break the car.
Oh,
completely.
sure. Blame the woman driver.
Classic Wout. I love you, Wout. Please don't blacklist me.
Wout's lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, all I have to say is clean sweep's probably never going to happen again. So I'm going to revel in this and revel in the fact that Fuzzy's going to realise that I got a clean sweep very, very soon.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 14 recap. We'll be back next week to wrap up the season and maybe talk about what's next if you're lucky. Don't forget you can contact us on pretty much every social media platform that isn't TikTok, where we are RTV Warriors. You can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors. And you can see the suspect list results at the link in our show notes or the bio. Thank you, as always, to the Legion of Subtitlers. We'll see you next week.
I am not trying to seduce you.
Peace out. Just chill till the next episode, eh?
Just the AI Swedish voice doing that.
Might be able to be arranged.
Peace out. And just chill till the next episode, eh?